In this video, we're going to practice writing the characters of the Greek alphabet in combination with breathing marks and then also in combinations of entire words. You should have your whiteboard handy because I'm going to ask you to handwrite after me. And I want to note from the outset that there is no one single right way to write Greek characters. I simply want to present to you the way that I do it. So let's go ahead and jump on in, starting with the first letter of the alphabet, alpha. So with alpha, I start up at the top, come curve back down around like that. One more time, nice and big on the whiteboard. Coming up and curving down around like that. For beta, we start down at the bottom, come up, don't break the stroke at all, come back to the line and leave a small little tail down at the bottom where you started. So one more time with beta, going up, coming down, and like that. This one. Sometimes, you got to add a little bit. Gamma, we start over at the left, come down, and then back over to the right. One more time, starting at the left, coming down, and back over to the right. Delta, we come over and back around and circle back. Over, down, and circle back. Epsilon, start up at the top right, come down, nice two big curves going to the left. Again, top right, two large curves. Down to zeta, you start here at the top left, come up just a little bit, come down, and then end down at the bottom like that. This is one of the harder ones to write because it doesn't really resemble any particular English letter. So again, starting up at the top left, little curve, big loop, and then coming down with a small loop again at the end. And then we have eta here, starting at the top left, coming down, and then picking up the pen and coming back up here, and leaving this coming down further than your initial line. Again, starting top left, picking up the pen, and bringing this stroke down beyond this stroke. Onto theta. Just do a circle with a line right through the middle. You can do it maybe a little bit more O-like if you want to make it a bit taller, and then again a line just right through the middle there. Yoda, just starting and coming down with a teeny tiny little tail. So once again, starting small tail. One of the unique things about Yoda is that it can subscript, that is to say, subscript go under the letter, under certain letters, namely long vowels. So a small Yoda, a Yoda subscript, can go under a vowel like this. So if you want to practice making an omega, which we have not done yet, starting at the left and just two large curves, and then a small little baby Yoda underneath it. On to kappa, we start at the top left, come down like this, and line up, and then a line down. That, line up, and a line down. Lambda, starting at the top left, coming down diagonally, adding that second line. Down diagonally, second line right there. On to mu, starting down at the bottom, coming up, coming down with the curve, one more time like that. So again, starting bottom left, coming up, curving, and coming back down. Nu, which is not a V sound, it is an N sound, starting up at the top left, and then a nice hard point at the bottom to distinguish it from hoopsilon here. So again, starting top left, coming down, hard point like that. C is another difficult one because it has several curves and does not really look like any English letter and sort of looks like zeta. So you got to make sure you get the extra loop in there for C. So we're going to start at the top left, do our first loop, do our second loop, and come back down like that. Top left, first loop, second loop, and coming back down like that. On to omicron, small o, micron, just a nice simple O. Very, very familiar to us. And then on to P, not pronounced pi as in mathematics, but P. So if you want to ruin Pi Day, you can start calling it P Day. Line across the top, and then line coming down, and a line with a small curve. Again, line across the top, line down, line with a small curve. Row, you're going to start at the bottom left. Do not pick up, don't pick up the pen and just make a curve coming up and over. Curve coming up and over, starting at the bottom left, curve up and over. Sigma, we're starting at the top of the letter and then coming back with our circle. So if you want to make it a little bit more straight, you can do something like that. But again, starting at the top right and adding the circle down. Tau, we're going to start with the top line and come down with the small line with the crook at the end. Again, starting with the top line, coming down with the small line with the end. Upsilon, starting at the left side, coming down and up. Upsilon. On to Phi, we're simply doing a circle with a line going down vertically. So sort of like theta, but the line going a different direction. Phi, circle with the vertical line coming. Then on to Xi, start at the top left, do a line sort of with the crook at top and bottom, and then a straight line through it. And line with a crook at top and bottom, and a straight line through it. On to C, we're going to do a sort of crooked, a crook with the loop type thing, and then once again a line just straight down, just as we do with B. So crook line or crooked loop, and a line straight through. And on to Hupsilon, to distinguish it from the English W, we do not do sort of hard points. This English W has these sort of like hard points here. That is not what the Greek omega looks like. Rather, those bottom parts are curved. So you do a sort of fluid motion of up like that. So let's go through the entire alphabet and do each letter one more time in a single line here. So alpha starting at the top right, beta starting at the bottom, gamma starting at the top left, delta starting at the top right, epsilon starting at the top, zeta again starting at the top. Give you a little bit more time on that one. Eta starting at the top left. Theta, circle with the line. Iota, just a small little dot. Kappa, starting top left. Line over and line off. Lambda, starting up at the top left. Line coming down. Mu, we're starting the character at the bottom left. Nu, starting at the top left, giving a nice point at the bottom. Xi, one of the harder ones here, making sure we get both crooks in there. Omicron, just a simple little O. E, starting at the left and moving, doing that top line and line down. Rho starting at the bottom left and giving it a circle, so it doesn't quite look like the English P, which tends to have a header above it. One single fluid motion for the row. Sigma starting at the top right. So tau starting at the left, doing the top line and down. Upsilon starting top left, making the curve. V, essentially an omicron with a vertical line down through it. C, line with those two crooks and then straight line through. C, curved line with the line, vertical line coming down. Then omega looks a little bit like an English W, but without the points. One fluid motion for the omega. All right, pop quiz here. What breathing mark is this one going off to the left? right? The smooth breathing mark. Let's go ahead and high five for your correct answer. 1, 2, 3, high five. And this one with the breathing mark going to the right is the, nailed it, rough breathing mark, high five, 1, 2, 3, boom. And then lastly, this accent mark is what is called a circumflex accent. We're going to practice writing these two accent marks, or two breathing marks, excuse me, and the accent here. So let's go ahead and do it with these combinations of letters, these two being diphthongs, oo and u, and this one simply being the vowel eta with the rough breathing mark. So it's going to sound like hey. So starting with u, let's go ahead and do our epsilon, upsilon, and then our breathing mark, our smooth breathing mark, is simply going to be a line going over to the left, like an English apostrophe. Then eta, go ahead and write your eta, and then your rough breathing mark is going to be like a single opening quotation mark in English. And then lastly, for oo here, we're going to do our omicron and our hoopsilon. And there are two different ways that you will see the circumflex accent written, like this, sort of like a tilde in Spanish. Or you might also do it like this, just a simple arc on the top. Either one, you'll see both of them printed, and either one is very sufficient for writing. All right, let's do 3 practice words here. Let's write 3 different words. Luo, this is going to be a word that you're going to see very often in the grammar. It's the basic verbal form that will be repeated in all of the paradigms. So let's go ahead and start with our lambda up at the top, coming down diagonally, and then another diagonal line coming down. Luo, we have our crook and our curve, and then omega, two curves, sort of like an English W, but without the points. And then this accent mark here is called an acute accent, and it simply goes up like that. All right, our next one, ha doulos. This word right here is what's called the definite article. You're going to find that later on in this class, the definite article is your very, very good friend. So here is your chance to introduce yourself to your new very, very good friend. So let's start with the omega. So you always start with the letters first and add the accents after, typically after you've written out the entire word. So after writing that omega, that rough breathing mark going over to the right, just like a single English opening quotation. And then doulos, we're starting up at the top right for our D, for delta. Our omicron is just a little O. Hoopsilon, starting over at the left with the little crook and curving down. Lambda, coming down diagonally and then diagonally down again. Omicron, small o. And the final sigma, which I am just realizing we did not practice, sort of looks like an S, but with the top of the S a little bit larger. So why don't we write that one a couple times? You've got a big curve with a little bit coming down for the final sigma. And just as a reminder, final sigma is called final sigma because it only looks this way when it is at the end of a word. Everywhere else, sigma is going to look like this, sort of like an O with a hat on the top. One more time, let's do that final sigma, a nice curve, and then a small little bit at the end there. And then our circumflex accent goes over the hoopsilon in the diphthong of omicron hoopsilon, which makes the oo sound. So it can be written like this, or it can be written like this. All right, last word to write out here. Again, your friend, the definite article. This is pronounced ha here. So let's write out our omicron and then the rough breathing mark that makes that ha sound. So we go from ah to ha when we get the rough breathing mark on there. And then alpha starting at the top right and coming down. Nu, we get a point right down here to distinguish it from hoopsilon. Theta, circle with a horizontal line going through. Rho starting at the bottom left and not picking up the pen as you might for an English P. And this does not make a P sound, but makes that R sound. Row makes the R sound. Long O sound with omega on throw. Then another P here, line at the top, then 2 lines down. Omicron, little o makes that ah sound. And then one more final sigma, giving us some more practice on the final sigma here. And the last thing we need to do is add our breathing mark and accent. So we have the smooth breathing mark, like an English apostrophe, over the alpha, as well as the acute accent. So a word or a letter can take both a breathing mark and an accent. You will sometimes see both on a single word.